Aside from all that, I brought along a book today called Death by Horoscope, which you
Yes.
have edited, and those are short stories. And I know you've written some. If I remember right, you won an Edgar for one because I was there.
Yes, that was Heroes. That was
Right.
the one that started Joseph Reevely off.
Exactly.
Yes, I love short stories.
I remember that. You remember sitting around, we were debating your dress.
Yes.
Whether you were going to
Yes.
buy a fancy dress for it and all. But the thrust of this, as in many short story collections, it's a theme. So the thrust of
Yes.
this one had to do with
Astrology.
astrology. Yeah,
Yes.
astrology and all.
Mm.
Was that fun?
Oh, yes. Short stories are great fun. You can try out all sorts of things that maybe you couldn't carry on for a full-length novel, but you can just have a ball. I think lots of novelists love to write short stories.
I think so too. Not all of them, however, can because they're so the plot hook and all is so precise in a
Yes,
short
it
story.
has
A
to
lot of
be-
people don't think that way.
No, you have to have really one main idea
Right.
and lead up and then twist it round. I think that one, the Blue Scorpion, something like that.
I don't
Yes.
remember, but I guess my question was, it says Anne Perry edited on this. Does
Yes.
that mean that you actually read and selected the stories?
Yes.
And thus, one of your standards was, did they fit the theme, right?
Yes, did they fit the theme and were they strong enough? And they all were. But, well, you need a little tweaking here and there to odd stories.
So did you actually engage in that sort of dialogue with some of the authors, like this one isn't quite good enough here at the end?
No, I didn't.
You didn't have to do that.
Marty Greenberg, I think, does most of that. I would really feel it to be a professional discourtesy to be telling other authors what they should
It
and
would be
shouldn't
well,
do.
that's why I asked, because I think it would
Yes.
be very difficult for you
Yes.
to do that as opposed
I
to...
couldn't do it. I've had to say once or twice, look, Marty, I think that this or that needs a bit of attention. One story in a different collection, somebody was running around with a sheaf of notes in Dickens' time, and I'd say, Marty, if anybody had that much money, they could buy the street. You don't bribe somebody with what amounts to the price of 6 or 7 houses. A
Right.
few coins would do. Oh, yes, because now, of course, particularly since we have notes for £1,
Right.
and you have notes for $1, which is, I mean, $1 is not a lot of money these days.
No, it's like a penny used to be.
Yes, but in the days that we were referring to, you would have sort of 5 and 10 pounds.
Right.
Well,
and
that-
shillings were more valuable.
Well,
right?
yes, but a policeman would make 19 shillings a week.
Right.
What, less than £1 a week? So you don't. A sheaf of notes is probably going to be 40 or 50 or 60 pounds. It's 2 or 3 years' wages.
Right. Way too much money. But
Yes.
see, that comes back to my comment way back at the beginning that you are now so at home in this era that sort of thing that you once might have had
Yes,
to
I
check.
hope.
You
Yes.
actually know. You
Yes.
know, it's familiar to you.
Well, if you should visit again, you'll probably meet my brother, who now does my research for me.
Right.
And this is so useful because his profession is medicine. And I can just say, Jonathan, if, so-and-so, what would oh yes, we'll go this way. And he actually ran his own MASH unit in the Zimbabwean War of Independence.
Right.
And I think it's about the 4th book that'll be dedicated to him.
Tremendous.
It means that I can get a great deal of information without having to go pouring through books and books and books. I just say, Jonathan, if, and then you tell me what the answer is. He also his sport is target shooting, so he knows quite a bit about guns as well.
How useful. And in
Isn't it?
fact, yeah, if you're going to
Yeah.
keep up this production level, you really do need
Yes.
that sort of support. I was just talking to our mutual friend, Dana Stabenow,
Yes.
who is writing a thriller now off the Alaskan coast and has to do with the North Koreans putting an atomic weapon on a fishing
Yes.
boat or whatever. And suddenly she's into areas with which she is less familiar than when
Yes.
she's writing, in the mythical park that she created
Yes,
in Alaska
yes.
for her characters. And she is employing for the first time a research assistant, and she said it's absolutely wonderful.
It is,
I
because-
need to know
yes.
whatever, and I just
Yes,
ask.
please. And also, people think of things that you wouldn't have thought to ask.
Right.
They tell you, I mean, I've got a scene with Joseph and this war correspondent in a rowing boat after their ship has been sunk. And I've got Joseph doing certain things, and Jonathan says, come on, he's a man, he would do so-and-so. I think, you're right,
Right, but how would you know that?
Exactly. Well, I wouldn't, because I'm thinking, well, he would do this and he would do.
Sure.
So John, look, he's a man. He would. Because
Right.
I wouldn't. I mean, I'm not capable of hitting anybody worth a darn. I mean, it isn't that I wouldn't think
Sure.
to hit somebody. I know better because I'm going to lose.
Well, you know, I think no matter how hard you try as an author, no matter how great your imagination and all the rest of it, there are some things, you know,
Yes, you can't think
that
like
you
somebody
can't.
else.
Exactly. Men
need
and
to
women
allow.
are differently
Yes.
wired, and there are points
Yes.
in which it's very tough if you're writing a book primarily from a male narrative voice,
Yes.
where having a male consult with you,
Yes.
so to speak,
Well,
is
I
going to
mean,
be a winner.
Yes, I mean, there are things. I mean, Pitt's life is relatively peaceful compared with life in the trenches.
That's right. And
He's
those
not-
books are really more about Charlotte and
Yes.
Antisphasia and all, and
Yes,
the Pitt things.
he's not required to be very physical.
Right. Yeah,
Um,
no, he's not. And we
no.
do see him a great deal of the time from outside
Yes,
himself, and so that
yes.
makes it easier.
So, but I've got to have Josie behave like a man.
Yes, you do. And you know what? We're going to have to behave like two women here
Yes,
and
and
stop
get going.
talking.
Oh.
No, I'm afraid, unfortunately, our time is up. We
Oh.
never have enough time to talk. Thank you, Anne.
No, but it's a very good start.
It is.
Thank you.
I really have enjoyed this window into your new work. Thanks for coming and sharing it with me.
Thank you.
And I certainly thank all of you for staying with us during this episode of the Criminal Calendar.